Today I got myself an open source scan converter. Decided to unbox it and check out some of the things that came with it and give you guys a quick idea what you're going to get. So it does come with a remote control, which is pretty cool. That's why I got the overlay. You can order this separately. It does come with a setup guide. The other thing that it comes with, which is pretty cool, you get 4 different adapters here. So if you're in Europe or Japan or America or wherever you're at, it'll work just fine. And you also get, of course, power adapter, which you do have to order or add to your order. Oh, top in first. Anyway, so if you do get a power adapter, or 1.2 amp out, 5 volts, okay, so that's what you'll need. Set that to the side, and let's open up the Big Papa. Let's see what he's like. That's what it's all about. Now I got this instead of the Framemeister mostly because, well, the Framemeister is being discontinued, so I don't want to buy something that's being discontinued. Plus I hate lag. So it doesn't clean the signal, it merely doubles the lines. You know, the Framemeister does clean the signal, you know, which has a big advantage, but yeah. Motor garbage. Alright, so got the overlay put on. You got to push out all these little buttons here, but you know, not too difficult. You got the overlay on the remote, so it makes a little bit more sense. And now we're going to go through the setup guide, which is for the remote control, and get our OSSC plugged in and get it working. Alright, so OSSC firmware version 0.81a. The A just means that you have audio capabilities. Okay. If you do need to upgrade your firmware, there is a micro SD slot on the bottom here. Let's go back over the top. These buttons here are actually in case you want to use the menus on the LED instead of the remote control. Of course, you have your AV1 and 2 input and output here. This is actually AV1 output and AV2 input. Okay, and the toggle switch for which one is right here. I don't know if you can see that. It's just to the left of the HDMI connector right there. And then, of course, there's the AV3. This is an input. And then let's see what else. The SCART, of course. And the OSSC does not accept any SCART signal or component signal unless it's RGB. That's just something that's you should know about, or at least the SCART, sorry, not the component. So this has to be RGB. Okay, you need a converter to make sure you're getting RGB, like a SCART cable. Okay, there's your component connections, and then on the back side, of course, you got your power, you got your switch to plug it up, and of course, you got your VGA. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and hook it up, test console, and let's go through some of the initial setups and see what the picture looks like and what you need to do. Okay, before we start powering this up, as you can see, the cables aren't hooked exactly like you think they would hook up. So I have the HD Retrovision cables, but there's nowhere to put these RCA audio inputs to the OSSC, unfortunately. So there's a couple things that you can do, but what I decided to do was just go straight 3.5 millimeter audio out from the Sega Genesis and into the OSSC. Okay, so this one over here is audio in or audio out. So the audio out is actually going to come from your SCART. Audio in is going to be from, you know, your headphone jack 3.55. The A3 audio in, that's basically your headphone plug as well, but this is to digitize audio from your VGA. Okay. Anyway, so just be aware of that on Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, HD Retrovision, or any other kind of component cables. There's not a direct connection for your RCA, so you have to convert it, or you can get converters. They're pretty cheap, you know, from RCA to headphone, or in this case from the Sega Genesis, I'm using a direct 3.5 millimeter connection I actually like doing that. A lot of people don't realize this, but the headphone jack on the front of the Sega Genesis is the only one that actually has stereo. So what we're going to do now is power it up and go through some setups real quick, but just be aware of that, okay? Now on your TV screen, what you're going to see is a gray test pattern. And if everything looks good, then you can power up your machine. Go ahead and cycle off your OSSC. You are ready to go, unless you want to do a firmware update. We'll go ahead and power it on, and we'll cut on our Sega Genesis. So when you see the gray screen, you can use button 0, or you can use your remote. Number 2 for me to go to the HD Retrovision input. Okay, and now we have picture. Let's see if we move it up. All right, let's take a look at some of the menu and some of the options. You can do this with the buttons. I'm going to do it with the remote so I don't get my fingers in the way of the camera. So anyway, the menu is going to be the orange button in the top left corner. Well, it's in the middle, but it's the top left section of that orange section. Okay, so let's go through the menu. Alright, output options. Output options is where you do your line doubling, line tripling, okay? So right now it's on line double. I'm going to go to line triple, and my screen has already changed instantly. That looks pretty good, actually. that's it for the setup. A couple thoughts I did want to share. I was looking through the setup guide on the remote control. Honestly, I don't know what this is doing. It's talking about learning and setting up, for TV. I guess you can use this remote for, your satellite, DVD, TV, things like that. I found it kind of useless because I already have like a master remote, but, food for thought. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to share is the remote actually is pretty nice. This is the menu button that I was talking about in the top left. This is the back button down here that I was backing out. And of course up, down, left, right to cycle through, and OK to hit enter. It is pretty nice that they put the scan lines. You can immediately just up or down your scan lines right here. You can change your different mode of scan line. The other one that I was getting a lot of use of was this one up here. Is this one right here. Is the line multiplier mode. That one's pretty cool. Anyway, you'll tap it, and on the menu or the LCD screen, it'll say hit 1 through 5 if you just want 240p or 480p or etc, etc, etc. So if you want to quickly go to 960 or 1080 or whatever you want to do, that was pretty cool. I like that. So the remote's actually pretty handy. I'm starting to really like this than cycling through all the buttons. I'm definitely going to get one of the other thoughts I'm looking at right now is I'm going to have some kind of receiver distributor for all my audio, because if I have all of my component cables outputting RCA audio, such as my Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, etc., how am I going to get those all into one input on the OSSC? So that's something I got to figure out. But if you guys have a really good idea, let me know. Anyway, till next time, guys. Laters.